Hi, and welcome to my channel, Undefined Life. And if this is your first time meeting me, I'm Fatima and I'm happy to have you here. So, today I want to talk about a topic that I really felt inspired to talk about. I was just seeing like the signs everywhere, which brought me sort of like into more awareness that I need to talk about this. So, without much further ado, let's talk about the pursuit of happiness. I have a feeling that this will be a long one just because I have a lot to talk about. And I did not want to do like a series of videos, but this will have a part two. And part two will be different and it will be shorter. Now, if you want the secret sauce to happiness, then this video is for you. Apart from what I think or feel, scientific studies have also shown and proved that happiness can improve your life. Happiness can heal your relationships, the relationship with yourself, your relationships with others, and happiness can even fix broken marriages. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to listen to this information right here. You could be thinking, happiness? Really? Happiness? You want to talk about happiness? Happiness is pointless. It is selfish. So why would you want to go there? Well, that's exactly the reason why I want to talk about happiness. Because I have come to believe that a lot of people are afraid of saying, I want to be happy. And when someone says, I am happy, this is met with scrutiny. Happy how? Happy where? We have become such skeptics that when it comes to happiness, I can confidently say that a majority of people in the world want happiness. Despite the skepticism, despite the scrutiny, the disbelief when we hear somebody say that, I'm happy, you do all want it. I'll explain further why we treat words like happy or happiness with suspicion. It is largely due to our programming, which has been wired into our psyche with this subconscious fear and discomfort of saying, I want to be happy, that we actually avoid and do not admit that what we want is to be happy. Cognitive dissonance. Now, stay with me because I'm going to explain what I mean before you get offended and defensive and think, what? So you're trying to say that because I'm not happy, I'm causing my own suffering? That's not what I'm saying. But listen, just stay with me. I grew up in a post-war, post-colonial Zimbabwe, where at that time people had just come out of like a 15-year war for Black people's liberation. And if you can imagine war conditions, people are likely used to a lot of turmoil. There probably is a lot of chaos, upheaval. There's also uncertainty, threats to safety. That to desire happiness will not be a priority. So I do understand that there are circumstances or situations that, we're not going to think about happiness. And when you think about it, for Black people, happiness was never going to be our priority because we were not allowed freedoms, let alone to be happy. When you are under oppression or under somebody else telling you what you should do and who you should be, the last thing that you're going to think about is, I want to be happy. For most oppressed people, happiness and its associated feelings or emotions are often short lived and not guaranteed. And I understand that. And most of these people likely live in a fight or flight, also known as survival mode. In other words, it means that your nervous system is always vigilant and ready to activate due to fight flight response in case you need to run for safety. Can you imagine how stressful this must be? I can imagine that it's almost certainly scary, unsafe, and very anxiety provoking. And I'm saying all this to help you get an understanding of why this is an important aspect, seeking happiness for our human expansion and survival going forward. You can imagine all the wars, all the conflict that we see, and something is triggered in us to be like, no, this is not okay. Because these people cannot live a life of abundance or live a life of safety. So, what is happiness? Let's define it, shall we? Well, the educated people at Oxford, well, they are educated, define it as a state of being happy. I agree with that. I don't consider happiness as I feel good, so it means I'm happy. And I also think that this is where people dismiss it as happiness is very subjective, depending on the person experiencing it, what they have been through, their beliefs, their self perception, and their social conditioning. Actually see happiness as a myriad of emotions, ranging from feelings or experiences such as joy, elevation, bliss, excitement, pleasure, with the highest forms of happiness being contentedness and fulfillment. I also equate happiness as a measurement of one's well being. in relation to how positive they feel and rate their life or experiences. Is happiness contagious? I'm sure it can be felt by others just from seeing happy faces and smiling faces. I don't know. A baby could tell you, is happiness contagious? Or you could answer in the comment section. Knowing all this matters as it will help you understand happiness in relation to your life, especially if you clicked on this video or if you're listening to this podcast, then I assume you desire to be happy. I specifically want to talk about happiness because when we deny that truth to ourselves that we want to be happy, we deny ourselves the opportunity to experience the best that life has to offer us. We're denying ourselves being enhanced for our own well-being. Hence why I said denying your own desire to be happy results in pain and prolonged unnecessary suffering. Just say, I want to be happy. There's no need to entertain and nurture stress. There are no awards for that. The day I mastered how to pursue happiness through choosing to be happy for myself, let me tell you, it was the day I started to live life. It was also the day I started to enjoy my life. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. I don't want to bore you, but I somehow deeply started to understand what self-love was, how to love and accept who I am, who I was, and embrace who I'm becoming. And I did this with ease and not stress because suddenly I could just be happy and enjoy myself. So there was no need for me to fight anything. You could be asking, so what does this have to do with the pursuit of happiness? It is everything to do with it, dear darlings, as you cannot be truly happy when you do not love or like who you are. And this can be psychologically measured, by the way. So going back to that day, this was a day where I found a freedom that nobody could ever take away from me. I clearly remember waking up with this feeling over me in 2022 and again in 2023 when I was getting used to this new way of being, where I was choosing myself and aligning myself with things that actually enhance my happiness for my own well-being. So I am a firstborn daughter who was born and brought up in an African country. As you can imagine, this is a very responsible role. And as I'm growing up, I'm expected to be the example. I'm also raised in this initial post-colonial war phase, as I mentioned before. And I believe it impacted some of the beliefs or mindsets that I held. I say this because when I hear people who didn't grow up under colonialism, they just seem to be more privileged in what they say, in what they were allowed to do. And they even feel differently about happiness, even if they're firstborns. So I associated happiness with thoughts like this. Don't be too happy because being too happy will lead to sadness. Don't be too happy because when you're too happy, you become irresponsible and complacent and may miss something. Don't be too happy. You're an older sister. You've got to be an example to the younger ones, as when you're too happy, you won't be taken too seriously. So you will lose your authority. And I think there's like a cultural collective trauma that was definitely embedded in these beliefs too. So I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just trying to show you how I was thinking, which shaped how I viewed happiness. You know what that made me, though? It made me become very fearful of wanting to be happy. Happiness became something that back then I had started to associate with this foreboding feeling. And you know, when you've got foreboding, it activates your fight or flight response. I really believe that if I'm too happy, then I have to anticipate something bad going wrong in my life, or otherwise my happiness will be taken away. I can probably say some epigenetic memories at play there, coupled with the influence of growing up in religion, which also glorifies suffering, particularly for women. So happiness then became this illusory feeling or illusory state that was so inaccessible. You could be wondering, yes, and so what? Well, let me tell you something. I never allowed myself to fully be happy, and I never allowed myself to enjoy life. I could not fully enjoy a moment or an experience because I would either be feeling guilty with thoughts like, oh, you shouldn't be happy, or you're being too happy. Therefore, being happy and pursuing happiness made me so uncomfortable. And guess what? Remember how I told you that happiness is a myriad of emotions? Where sometimes maybe I should have been experiencing joy, maybe I should have been elated, or simply be like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited because something exciting has happened. Or should have been just simply proud of myself for achieving something, for accomplishing something. and give myself a pat on my shoulders, but I could never experience the emotion. So again, I couldn't celebrate myself. I could never enjoy my successes either because it just seemed like it's bad to feel that way. I could never be present and be in the now moment. If you've never grown up avoiding being happy or never felt that way, then this video is not for you. But I want to speak to you that identifies with the desire to be happy, and yet you have not fully allowed yourself to be happy. It is you that this video is for. You could be afraid of being happy because when you were happy as a child, you were punished for it, or you were told you shouldn't be happy. It could be that your caregivers or the circumstances of when you grew up, they did not give you room to consider being happy. I understand that as well. I also want to speak to that person who feels that everything was okay, yet you've recognized that there is a limiting belief that you have associated with you being happy, and it is affecting your well-being. This video is for you too. What I will show you is how to love being happy minus the guilt, and how to enjoy being happy without going into survival mode like you have to fight for your life. You will discover how to simply be in that moment of happiness, joy, excitement, or elevation, whatever it is that makes you feel good, legally, of course. So it's more like I want you to know how to shut the brain chatter when you're trying to be happy, but you sense something that prevents you from fully immersing yourself into being happy or into a state of happiness. I do want to caveat this and say when I'm talking about happiness, I'm not talking about the momentary spikes of emotion where we experience high highs of being happy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a deeper, profound state of being happy, because that's what I got to experience. And that's what's really transformed my life, achieving a state of happiness, not just a temporary, fleeting, or transient, momentary spikes of happiness. I want you to know that the two, though different, so like a state of happiness and the transient feelings, though they're different, they're beneficial to our overall well-being and overall life outlook, because we do benefit from the heightened spikes of happiness, like the dopamine hits, using the right methods, of course, meaning not through means that will create like addictive pathways in your body, because that's actually counterproductive. As I did my research, therapists actually argue that there is no state of happiness. I believe it exists because happiness is subjective. But I do agree with the notion that the feeling of happiness is fleeting and therefore it is not a very reliable indicator of happiness. Let me know what you think in the comment section. People in challenging life circumstances probably enjoy the benefits of fleeting moments of being happy more because they need the release of feel-good hormones to boost their positivity, and they likely don't see happiness as a state. And I can see that variant as well. I've seen that when I talk about happiness or when I hear people debunk that happiness is something that they can enjoy, it is usually because they only experience being happy through these fleeting moments that are transient of these happy hormone releases and surges. For example, when people don't really enjoy their life, but when they go to a moment where they socialize or after celebratory events like weddings or parties, they were happy. And when that stopped, away the happiness went too. Again, that's not a reliable indicator to say that happiness doesn't exist. So all those external factors that contribute to overall happiness and well-being, though being important, and I'm not knocking them down. However, I've come to the conclusion that if we rely on just that, then our happiness will be something that we need from things, people, and our circumstances being okay. Unfortunately, this rarely leads to mastering the state of happiness that I'm talking about here. Think about it. If you rely on external happiness sounds like this. Well, that's what it sounds like to me. I need somebody else to make me happy. Otherwise, then I'm not happy. I need money to make me happy. Otherwise, then I'm not happy. I need food to make me happy. Otherwise, I'm not happy. Not knocking down the need for food because it's a survival need. I have to have this addictive substance to make me happy. Otherwise, I'm not happy. This is effectively outsourcing your happiness outside. How will you gauge how much you will need to remain happy? Or when do you measure if it is enough? This is why this video, I am teaching you about happiness and how to master the state of happiness. So, from my learnings, I learned that because I was afraid of being happy, I resisted it, and I was never really honest about what I wanted. It meant that I accepted less than what I truly wanted. This, ladies and gentlemen, leads to settling and compromise. I have an audio on compromise if you're interested in listening. So I was compromising things that I truly wanted, the things that I truly desired. I was tolerant of things that I wasn't really tolerant of. And all I was doing was convincing myself with statements like, "Oh, let me just accept it." All in my head, by the way. But deep down in my heart, I knew that I was not happy. And this unhappy emotion would not go away, no matter how much I tried to sugarcoat it. If you don't know, but what you resist will persist. So stop the self gaslighting. That's what I had to do. And again, this is why I realized that there's a state of happiness, because if I was in a constant state of being unhappy, how is that possible? And we say there's no constant state of happiness. So the outcome of me living my life that way, where I denied my own happiness, and why I am so passionate to teach about the pursuit of happiness, is because denying my own happiness caused me to live, when I think about it, with an unflinching deep disappointment, dissatisfaction. I generally felt miserable, sometimes angry, resentful, but I can tell you I did not enjoy life. To be honest with you guys, there were times when I actually felt anxious and depressed. But because I was afraid of saying I want to be happy, neither could I admit to myself that I wasn't happy. That's lesson number one right there. By denying my own desire to be happy, I prolonged my pain and suffering. Lesson two, you cannot heal what you don't acknowledge to be causing you pain. You cannot overcome what you do not accept to be an issue. So by bravely acknowledging the fact that I wasn't happy, there was a major breakthrough. Now, for me, it was also the beginning of my gateway to freedom. When I finally decided that I don't want this, for you, you could insert what you want. It could be your career, where you tell yourself working here is miserable for me, or these friendships, I'm not thriving, I'm not in a healthy relationship. Or you could have addictions. So you start realizing that you're only addicted to things to numb your unhappiness. When I became that honest with myself, it really transformed my life. So I don't mean become impulsive and act on what you want to chase happiness, because we know life doesn't work like that. You're not chasing anything because happiness is always available for you. It's about accessing it. So don't chase it. And chasing something will keep you in lack, right? So you just have to know how to access the state of happiness. Even though I call this the pursuit of happiness, I might just call it accessing happiness. Everything in life also requires you to have strategy, and it's about patience and timing, because if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. You get me? Let that be. But at least when you start to acknowledge what you want, it becomes like a light bulb moment for you to start to explore what it is that you want. And what you're doing there, you're exposing yourself to your needs and your desires and gain clarity on what will bring you happiness. I'm going to caveat this again and say I'm a very integrous kind of person. I don't advocate for free coughs or anything that's addictive through external sources to get dopamine hits to make you happy. The pursuit of happiness, to access states of happiness that I'm talking about, is a life where you want to live in integrity and authenticity to experience fulfillment and contentment without harming yourself or harming other people. We're not doing that. So back to the pursuit of happiness. I realized the things that didn't make me happy. And that realization led me to ask questions pertaining to the things that I truly wanted. I was able to explore why I was afraid of being happy and why I was afraid to say that I wanted to be happy. As I said earlier, the responsible firstborn daughter in me associated being happy with guilt. As being happy somehow felt childish and not very grown up or responsible. Of course, this evolved into the association of happiness with potential sadness coming or bad things happening. When I think about it now, this could have been my brain's way to protect me. So, attaching a fear to it as a reason. It just created a good confirmation bias, which didn't really help me. One of the most powerful things that changed because of this profound insight was discovering that I'd outsourced all my happiness to outside of me. If it was not my friendships, if it was not me being out somewhere socializing, then it had to come from a partner or from whomever I was dating. And then if I didn't feel as happy with them, then I would blame them and say, oh, I'm not happy because they're not doing this, that. My job is not this, that. My friends are not this, that. It was always something outside me. But yet me seeking that happiness from these things was not meeting the need. So lesson 3, when you outsource your happiness to somebody else, you are at their mercy to control and manage your moods and overall well-being. How can someone else make you happy when you don't know what will make you happy? I see it as taking away your personal power and literally handing it over to someone else to control the narrative. It is also very misleading to others. As you can imagine, if you need someone to make you happy, but you don't tell them when you're not happy, and instead you go along pretending to be pleased so much that they believe that they're making you happy. Confusing, right? Or in cases of abuse, which I know happens, they will impose on you what makes them happy, causing you to self-betray and self-abandon. You sacrifice your happiness for them. So that's why I always say, know what makes you happy. Even before you get into any deals or any relationships with other people, know what makes you happy. So you are not getting yourself in these situations of betraying yourself, abandoning yourself, sacrificing yourself, compromising yourself, pleasing people only to be so unhappy and so miserable. We don't want that, do we? You cannot guarantee a state of happiness when you outsource your happiness because you could be very happy today when everything and your circumstances feel good for a time. Then, when something happens resulting in unbearable circumstances, causing you sadness or misery, this type of seeking happiness is not beneficial in the long run and will never lead to a state of happiness. I was that person before, and I had to learn to look inward to find happiness. It's like being in those situations forced me to go inward. Finding internal happiness requires a deep level of self-awareness. But that's something that I teach because it is not easy. But try this. If you go back to your childhood and you think about the moments when you were happy, what are the things that made you happy? I say this because if you look at children, children are freely happy, whether things are good or not. Somehow they know how to cultivate all the myriad of the happy emotion states of joy, excitement, of course, until the world introduces them to chaos and fear. So in my case, I went to the time when I was very young and I remembered that I loved the feeling of freedom when I would roam around at my grandparents' farm. And the most exciting times for me were the times where I would climb trees and find loads of wild fruits and bring them back. Just that sense of adventure made me happy. And that's when I would feel the most content. Life was beautiful when I was in nature. And interestingly, when I think about it now, I feel most closest to God when I have those memories. So in my healing over the fear of happiness, when I did that visualization of going back to the farm as a young girl who didn't have responsibilities on her, even though I don't climb trees anymore, but one thing I realized is that I was revived by going into nature. And as an adult now, I have found that nature actually shifts me into states of happiness. So that's something that I do. Another tool that I discovered that I really enjoy is dancing. I was even told that the first steps that I took as a baby is when there was a party and I saw people dancing and up I got up and successfully walked. And guess what?
They be like, "Smooth, what? Can you teach me how to duck it?" Everybody love it. Everybody love it. You ain't messing with my duck it. Teach me how to duck. 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 Everybody love it. Everybody love it. Everybody love it. You ain't
Absolutely love dancing. Dancing for me is a tool that I utilize when I know that I'm not feeling 100% and I want to shift myself into a state of happiness. I also find things to laugh at, as laughter is medicine for sure. You can't beat a good old laugh.
As a country, we're in a similar situation because
So I have tried and tested these tools and they work for me. I'm able to access states of happiness from joy to a deeply profound gratitude for life itself. I'm able to think better. I'm able to come up with solutions, and it helps me to cope with unpleasant situations. Friends, I suggest you figure out what it is that you want, need, and desire that can shift you into a state of happiness. This must be something that you do for yourself, assuming you're an adult, of course. That's why I suggest journeying back to your childhood, if it is safe to do so. If this is triggering you, may I suggest that you seek professional help, as I appreciate that some people's childhood weren't that happy or easy. So please do not attempt this. But if you can't go to childhood, you can also think of a time when you were happiest. So get yourself a notepad, write it down, or write in your notes app. Note what was going on in your body. How did you feel? Name the emotion. A good way to do this is to close your eyes and let your imagination take you back there. If you experience feel good emotions and or feel good feelings, try and sit there, because that is slowly training yourself. So once I figured that it's okay, I'm allowed to be happy, and that happiness does not mean that something bad is going to happen to me, I could let go of my fears. And this allowed me to really feel the emotion of being happy, to experience it being absorbed in my body, to really experience the emotion and the feeling of being happy without being afraid of it, allowing it to simmer in my body until I embodied it without being afraid of it. Through that, I learned not to be afraid of saying what I want and what made me happy. A powerful shift was admitting what I did not want and what made me unhappy. And this actually brought on a whole load of curiosity without judgment. And that just means just allow the thoughts and the feelings to just come without you saying, oh, this is good, this is bad. Just allow it to come. So an example is acknowledging the emotion or feelings and continuing to ask, I wonder why. But not moralizing it into a bad or a good feeling. Just going, I wonder why that's coming to me. If you didn't know, fighting feelings or emotions can cause avoidance, which leads us to dismissing what will be truly happening within us. A warning I'll give you is to be aware that your heart will know what will make you happy, while your ego will try to keep you safe and cause you to deny your desire to be happy. And what that does, it keeps you in survival mode. So to override that, just continue to ask questions. Example questions could be, why is it I'm not happy? I wonder why. So what would make me happy? I want you to know this. Healthy desires are inviting you to a part of your destiny that is yet to unfold because you've not seen it. You are yet to experience it. This is why I don't dismiss something when I sense a battle in my heart or a feeling of discontent that just lingers. I'm like, why is this keep happening? Why is this keep coming up? What is it trying to unveil? I do it from a very rational perspective as well, because I do realize that sometimes what would make me happy might not work well for the well-being of others. So happiness that I'm talking about is not selfish. So in those cases, I realize that it's about shifting to a happy medium for all involved. But because I simply allow myself to go there to see, I'm able to weigh the options. And I actually find that this leads to a healthy, mature understanding and acceptance whereby it benefits everyone. And there are times in life where we have to go, in this situation, I'm just going to find peace and comfort for all involved. And guess what? That's okay too. And I think sometimes that's important, and it's a part of happiness and happy, healthy relationships with yourself and with others. If it is not people pleasing or self sacrifice and self abandonment, because those three things I mentioned just now, they lead to resentment. And we're not doing that. Undisclosed resentment, undisclosed anger should be a sign to know that you're unhappy. So as you've seen, when we allow ourselves to be happy, it gives us leverage in problem solving and in living better with other people. Somehow, I believe that that kind of way of living, we start to recognize how we are a part of a whole bigger picture which involves others. In my situation, permitting myself to experience guilt-free happiness got rid of frustrations, disappointments, and a big one, which I think the one that's gave me the most freedom, is blaming others, blaming circumstances, and expecting others to fulfill or meet my needs for happiness. That was just a game changer. Yes, it is good to do things to make each other happy, but know this, unless you know what makes you happy, how can other people know what will make you happy? Unless you say it, no one can read your mind. Besides, not everyone can fulfill your happiness needs, and no circumstances are always perfect. So what then? When you allow yourself the awareness of what is going on in your body, and you begin to recognize your emotions, where your emotions become your allies and not your enemies, let me tell you, major changes happen. Emotions become signals from your body that communicate to you. I accessed states of well being that I never thought I could access. I'm more accepting and I'm happier with my life in comparison to when I feared being happy. This is why I want to teach you that to be happy, it's not about the circumstances around you, but it is more about what is going on inside you, which will determine your level of happiness. This teaching right here that I'm teaching you set me free. That's why I want to share it with you. So I encourage you to watch my next video where I'm going to show you in a diagram how to experience the happiness variations from the fleeting, transient, short-lived surges of happiness and also be in the state of happiness, despite the fact that there could be unpleasant circumstances around you. As I come to the end, as I sum up this video, know that I don't believe that we should be happy all the time and dismiss things like sadness or grief, because I don't believe in making emotions, this one's good, this one's bad, I shouldn't feel it. I believe that difficult emotions have a role to play. And if you want a video on that, let me know in the comment section and I can address it one of these days. I believe that your emotions are your allies. I don't believe in your emotions leading your life because I believe that we are all rational if we allow our emotions to communicate with us in the first place. If this is your first time watching this video, I just want to remind you that I'm Fatima and this is my channel, Undefined Life, where I talk about personal development, some spirituality, and about harnessing universal laws such as the law of attraction to improve your life. And I believe that if you're getting acquainted with me, we could be YouTube friends. Share your thoughts in the comment sections about your experiences with happiness and let's become YouTube friends. So subscribe and like. See you in my next one. Thank you for watching.